Thank you.
Sorry, I give way to Catherine. I shouldn't have interrupted with the others.
Oh, we've got Catherine again, but we don't have Achilles. So Norbert, where did you want to just finish?
No, I think there's a problem of trying to make the residents understand about the imposition of the the Ministry of Transport imposing this 8-week deadline. But like Roland actually said, you had this plan that you cannot. I've worked with a council. I've worked in there. I know the setup is not really possible for anyone to actually do something within 8 weeks. So they must have been planning. You must have planned this, and you must have, because when I spoke to the young lady who was the project manager at the time when they were imposing the closure, when I said to her, why don't you have a time, right at this moment in time, I told, is it Richard Eason, to make this adjustment right there before they put the planters in and block the road, to try and make this a kind of like a time thing, that you would have in the morning and in the evening a no traffic zone, if you like, where people can't just rabbit through. But you can't, because once you've set your mind in doing something, and I know the council and other councillors are very vague in trying to make sure that their message is getting across, and then they'll use all these other bits and pieces to come in. Now, I'm not trying to say you couldn't work with the transport department. You could have, but I don't think so. A letter from Bambos or anybody else would have made any difference. But you could have made a huge difference at the local level, which was say, right, this is going to cause problems going to the south, because within a day of those impositions being, those blockages being imposed, the North Circular was on the eastbound near the Angel. There was a traffic jam, and then further down. Now, for me, without crying, I just want to say this, without crying, I have to go to Parkwood Towns, which is just off Bounds Green Tube Station on Gordon Road, and the surgery is behind it. I have a 79-year-old brother who's disabled. He can't hear, he can't speak, he can't make anything understand. And he was involved with the bombing. So for me to go to him in those 3 weeks was 25 minutes, actually 20 minutes more than the 5 minutes it would have taken me to go down to the reduced spaces through Brownlow Road, through the top end, the south end of Warwick Road.
Thank you, Norbert. Sorry,
Norbert, could I just ask you quickly now, how is it now visiting your brother?
It's the same. I mean, at the moment we have a Pinkham Way is damaged, waterworks. You can't get onto the North Circular. I live right at the end of Evesham Road, and I was told this. At the moment that road is closed, and it benefited me and everyone on Evesham Road, Ollerton Road, and the surrounding roads here from the rat runs. But I moved into the area in 1990, and I've been in Bounds Green for over 50 years. And in 1988, there was a scheme for the providing of the three-way or sway carriageway for the North Circular. Ken Livingstone took that 500 million pounds and used it for other things in other areas.
Yeah.
So it took.
Sorry, Norbert, I don't want to cut you off, but I'm very conscious of time. I think can I just summarise, because Norbert's made a very important point, and obviously is much more powerful because there's a real personal story there as well. And I think, if I can sum up, I think one of the significant issues with this LTN is that it has actually made it much more difficult for people to go and visit their relatives in other parts of the neighbourhood. So, you can live in Natal Road or York Road and want to visit your granny or your mum or whatever on the other side of Brownlow Road. Yeah. And it's now incredibly difficult. Or you car share with parents who live on the other side of Bounds Green Road. It's become impossible. So actually, all of the things that you would like out of this in terms of car sharing and whatever are just not possible. And the reality is, if you are going to visit your, a frail friend or relative and whatever, and taking them out. You know, walking is not always possible. And I hope, Norbert, I've sort of helped to sum up your issue there. Is that all right for
That's
you?
fine. Can I just add one little thing? I love to walk. I'm a badminton coach. I play badminton. I'm 65 years old. And I'm the Middlesex over 60s captain. And fitness is not a problem. However, I can't ride a bike. And secondly, walking, 12 minutes, 13 minutes, which I have done, to Barnes Green Station on a daily basis for the past 50 odd years is no problem. But I can't carry 2 kilos or 30 kilos of shopping or washing or all these other bits and pieces. And you know, there are others who are worse off than me. I don't complain. I wanted to be on this meeting because I just want to make it sure to you all that you all are representing, like Catherine, you said, the views of the people who are in this quadrangle, not outside. What do you think is good for us? The minority of the people on Warwick Road deserve to have a good, clean atmosphere, a good, safe environment. But in so doing, at this moment in the pandemic, or that moment in the pandemic, you've created a situation where it said, you know, there's no traffic. That's fine. Great.
Okay. Thank you, Norbert. I'm afraid I am going to stop you because I'm conscious of time.
I have to go anyway. I have to go. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Norbert, for being on the call. And it's a really
I appreciate it.
It's a really powerful point. You'll have to give me some coaching on badminton sometime, but
we can get into the halls. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, well, we can get in. Yeah. So thank you very much. I'm conscious of the fact that with these questions, it's not going to be practical, you know, given the time we've got to ask every councillor. So I'm going to ask everyone who's asking a question to identify which councillor they would first like to ask a question. So Kieran, I'm going to go to you now. Thanks very much. Would you like to ask your first question and whom you would like to answer it, please?
Perfect. I just wanted to make a point before I answer. This hyphenated experiment, apparently on the Healthy London the Enfield website, you can adapt it, but you can't get, you know, you can't get rid of these measures. So, you know, I don't think that you can call that an experiment. Just going straight to the crux of it, I've got 2 follow-up questions and the actual question. So as councillors, Councillor Chiba, presume the role is to represent the view of the residents. Okay, and you know, within Bowes, I presume, you know, do you know how many residents there are within the Bowes ward?
I don't want to get this wrong. It's between 8,000 and 9,000.
Yeah, about 10,000, so 3,000 households. Out of 3,000 households, I think you implemented the scheme based on 263 replies within the consultation. That's about 7.24 residents. Within that, you didn't put clear scales around what actually contributes to high traffic compared to low. Can you expand on that? You know, how we can read those metrics to identify traffic is a problem, and what point within those metrics on your website actually means there is a traffic issue. Additionally, I think you've got 800 and some 30. I think Achilles mentioned 835 responses so far. What additional things are you doing to ensure that everyone gets a chance to respond? It's fair, open, transparent, etc. That's it.
Okay, is that to me, Kieran?
That's you, Councillor Chief.
Okay. In terms of the metrics, I mean, I'm not a traffic engineer, so I'll be completely honest, I wouldn't know how to set the metrics, but what I know is from what residents have said to me, as Achilles and Yasmin said, on Warwick Road and surrounding roads.
Just Warwick Road.
When I was first elected in Bowes, I was being absolutely inundated with residents just saying, we are choked by the pollution, our children have asthma, this is unworkable. And I knew that this had been an ongoing problem for ages and ages and ages in those particular roads.
You live in the area?
I live just, no, I don't live in that bit, no.
Not been a problem.
I am lucky enough to live on a filtered road, and my children have benefited from it, and I have a child who has asthma, so I do have a personal take on it as well. But anyway, leaving that to one side, So you asked me about the metrics. So I don't have a mathematical model in my head. What I have is I try and represent everybody who contacts me in the best way that I possibly can. When I was first elected, I had loads and loads and loads of people saying to me, please sort out these issues. We have all this pollution, all this traffic, we can't bear it. So I was going to officers saying this, there does seem to be this real problem in this area. What do you think might be a possible solution? And we were just told at that time, there is no money, there will be nothing. Nothing can be done here. Yasmin and I went to go and see the place in Walthamstow, as we said. We were quite impressed by what they'd done there. Now, sorry, you're asking me how people will measure whether this is a success or not. Yesterday, I was given some data about 3 pollution sites. This data apparently is going to be put out tonight. I want to put it out on Twitter as soon as I can when it's in a usable form.
Pollution isn't the only issue. I'm sorry.
No, I entirely agree with you, and it's very complicated. And and it does seem to show that for months, if you compare the sites, there's a site on Branham Road, a site on the A406, and a site on, I think, Warwick Road. And if you compare the months in 2020 with the comparable months in 2019, it does look like pollution in those sites has gone down. But it's early days. And I'm not trying to draw conclusions from this, but I'm just saying that that is one possible measure of success for people on those roads. That's not to say that there are lots of other problems that need to be dealt with.
It's
Sorry,
the middle
what
of
was
the
your other question?
pandemic.
Sorry, I mean, we're now let Bob,
No.
I'm sorry, let's do it. But the point I think that people will want to make to you here is, you know, that I'm sorry, but it's not rocket science. If you reduce the cars on Warwick Road, the pollution will go down. The issue is the displacement of cars and the displacement of pollution. Because I know from walking around that I'm now choked on green lanes, you know, Bounds Green Road, on Durnsford Road, on Powys Lane, on Queen's Road. Essentially, all you have done is shift it around. And I would say, bully for Warwick Road, but what about, you know, what about the rest of us? This scheme has to work for the whole neighbourhood, and it patently doesn't. Sorry, Kieran, I've taken your spot, but do you want to come back now?
Yeah, just 2 quick points. I don't think Councillor Cheap has asked my question. I think the metrics which Enfield Council based the initial consultation on, it doesn't give a clear score, or, you know, the consultation that's coming up around what constitutes the high traffic out of 5. So you've got a scale of 1 to 5. What would you say is high traffic there? Secondly, I don't think she's answered my question around consultation. So, for example, you know, what more are you guys doing, you know, to reach those communities that don't have luxuries we do around, you know, laptops and so on, to get that consultation back so we can have an open and fair consultation? You've got roughly 7% in the original consultation. If you look at, you know, under 25% in the one that you're doing at the moment, it's not been very open, fair, because from a GDPR perspective, you've asked questions which don't, you know, are not relevant to the consultation. You've not made the VEX website very accessible. And it's just ultra vires. I've raised a complaint with the council. They're not listening. You know, I've not had a response. It's going to go to the ombudsman. Let's see what we can get done.
If you could email me with everything that you've said, I will take it directly to Richard Easton and other officers and raise it with them. And I would say that to everybody on this call today, if you can put your comments and questions in writing, I will take all this to the cabinet member and the officers.
One follow-up, Councillor Chiba, sorry. So say we don't, you know, consultation comes back, you're not happy with you know, people aren't, you know, you get a big positive saying, you know, people aren't happy with this. What powers do you have to remove the LTN? How soon can it be done, and what's the process? I
would have to take that to the cabinet member, and I guess it would probably have to be I don't know is the honest answer, and I have to take that to the cabinet member. And
I'll be making a freedom of information request on the, I think, complaints and stuff you've had about traffic, just to see if it's Warwick Road, Brownlow Road, or is it a fair view of the community. But no, thank you for your time.
Okay,
Thank you very much, Kieran and Catherine, for answering. Bob, I'm very conscious of the fact that I actually stopped you from talking. So if you wanted to come back and comment on what's been said, would you like to do so now? I'm sorry.
Very, very quickly, Councillor Catherine, really nice that you're taking statistics from 2019 and comparing them to 2020. That's pre-COVID and middle of the pandemic. Absolutely apples and lemons. It doesn't represent anything. But my question, and I will jump in really quickly. First of all, I appreciate all three of the councillors attending tonight. What really bugs me at the moment is I sent emails, I've sent letters to every one of the councillors. I've been virtually no platformed by everybody on the Labour Council and the leadership of the council. I've had responses from the Conservatives, which is very kind of them, and responses from one or two of the former Labour councillors. But you seem to, the leadership of the council seems to want to ignore what's being said about this. I'm not against quieter neighborhoods. I'm not against schemes that help reduce traffic on Warwick Road, help manage traffic in the neighborhood, help make it safer for everybody. What I am against is ill-advised knee-jerk reactions, even if they are promoted by the government, who I don't necessarily agree with either. But there have been discussions for the last 5 years. I've spoken to the road and traffic people. There are other ideas out there that could have been implemented just as easily and probably more effectively without dividing the neighborhood. And I want a yes or no question from all three of the councillors tonight. Is it right that the leadership of the council is no platforming people on social media and people have emailed and not acknowledging them when other councillors are? Just a simple yes or no, please.
Okay, Achilles, do you want to quickly say yes or no?
I can only speak for myself, and I have never done it, and I would never do it. So I can only speak for myself. The leadership will have to speak for themselves.
But you haven't acknowledged my emails.
Right. Okay.
I will check your emails and go back to them.
Thank you. So Yasmin, do you want to answer that question?
Yes, of course. Like Achilles, if an email is directed to me personally, I always answer it. And it would only be an accident, because I do get hundreds of emails that I may have missed one, but I will always answer it. As far as the leadership is concerned, I cannot speak for them. All I can say, though, is that Councillor Barnes advised us that he would be answering all the mails concerning this particular subject. So, you know, I have to hold him at his word.
Okay, thank you. And Catherine?
I absolutely try my utmost to answer everybody. I'm really sorry. I do apologise if I've missed emails, which sometimes has happened because there are a huge volume, not just about this subject, but about lots of subjects. But honestly, it's an honest mistake if I've missed your email, and I do apologise, Bob. In terms of what you just said about the data, you're absolutely right. It's incredibly difficult to compare, and car usage has gone up hugely in London because of the pandemic, which made me interested in the data I saw yesterday, because I thought if that's the case and pollution has still gone down, you know, maybe that's interesting. But as I say, it's very early days, and you're absolutely right. It's extremely difficult with data at the moment.
Bob, did you want to say anything else, or?
No, I appreciate their responses, and I appreciate that they recognize everybody's got skin in the game here, as they say, that, you know, we're all part of the neighborhood. I agree with Kieran that the 280 or 300 people who were very enthusiastic about this scheme are a minority. I really do feel for the people on Warwick Road and Brownlow Road and the other side of the railroad tracks. There is rat running, but there are better ways to deal with this than blocking off all the southern entry into our neighborhoods.
Right.
The council, road and traffic people are aware they need to come and walk the roads, not just look at it on a map and look at traffic numbers. Walking the roads and being part of it is more important.
I think so. I think that's a very good point, Bob, is that actually we do need our councillors to come and walk the road, and most critically walk in the roads around us to actually see what the impact is, and to breathe in the air for yourselves. And you just try crossing the North Circular at certain times of day. And I think, as Anna's just pointed out, so I'm just going to say this, from what we understand, many people have sent objections, and actually what we have just not had proper acknowledgements from Labour councillors. And so you must understand at the moment that people feel very unheard and very imposed upon. So if I could just say that. And I'm now going to just because I'm conscious of time, I'm going to ask Mandy to ask a question, and then Tony, and then Brian, if that's all right. Yeah. And if you could just confirm who specifically you want to answer your question. Mandy.
Hello. Good evening, everyone. I'm actually going to direct it to Yasmin, because you mentioned something in your initial speech about a holistic approach to these LTNs. And I just want to clarify that I live in Palmerston Road, which is the other side of the tracks to many of the others on this call. And I live just in Haringey. I'm right on the borders of Haringey. And I want to know what of the councillors in Enfield, what conversations are you having with the councillors in Bowes in the Haringey side? So what are you discussing, and what are those plans? Yeah, if you could give us some more information on that, that would be great.
Sorry, thank you very much, Mandy. I'm losing you from time to time because my screen's moving around. Very quickly, yes, mine has always been a holistic approach, in the sense that I've always reckoned that, you know, if you're going to deal with an area's traffic problems, you must look at the street and the impacts on streets on either side. And, you know, that's the way I have talked about this from the very outset. Now, in respect of Haringey, yes, the Haringey councillors were involved in our meetings, and as I understand it, they are talking about putting their own LTN in the areas to the south of us, basically south of Warwick Road and the roads along there. So yes, there has been discussion in terms of how they are going to measure things, or they've certainly learnt lessons from the way that our particular LTN discussion has been mishandled. They have certainly learned lessons from that. And, you know, as far as I'm concerned, even a 2-week consultation, if we could have done it, which is what I asked for at the beginning of this experimental trial, you know, I think would have helped greatly. And I personally, through this Zoom meeting, want to apologize for, you know, on behalf of the council, because I really feel that, you know, people have been really badly let down by the way in which this thing has been implemented.
Mandy, did you want to follow up at all, or did you, or not?
Possibly. I suppose it's just more specifics in terms of, because of the Enfield plans, Haringey are now on the back foot. And so I'm very concerned in terms of how will the Enfield plans change, because Haringey might need them to. There might need to be adjustments on those kind of things. But I just think the whole area needs to be consulted. It should have happened at the very beginning. This has been my biggest concern, and why I'm particularly angry about it.
I agree with you.
Yeah, good. I mean, I just want this to be raised to.
I totally agree with you 100%.
Yeah, I thank you, Mandy. I think it's a really good point that we do want to make sure is fed back. And honestly, again, it's not rocket science, that you cannot do anything in the Bowes neighbourhood without, you know, without considering Haringey. You just can't. I mean, all our key north-south roads, you know, they're partly Haringey and they're partly Enfield. So the whole, you know, it's bonkers, really, not to think much more strategically about traffic in this neighbourhood. So, but thank you, Mandy. I'm now pass to Tony. I think I said Tony, then Brian, and then Edis. And there's a very non-visual Thomas there. Does Thomas want to ask a question at some point? Hello? Right, okay, well, we'll see if Thomas emerges.
That's Nuala.
Huh?
That's
Oh,
Nuala.
it's Nuala, is it? Okay, Nuala, right, okay. Do you want to ask Nuala if you want to ask the question? Tony, over to you.
Hi, thank you, sir. This is to all three of you councillors, actually, and I want to say something to Yasmin and Councillor Georgiou after. Considering I'm disabled, I would like to know what yourselves or the council has done to engage with the disabled people in this area, and what you're going to do about it. At the end of the day, I'm having a nightmare. I've hardly left my house. I feel under house arrest since this implementation has started. I'm not at all happy with any of you councillors at all. That goes to Barnes and Caliscan. I've spoken to both of them, and they just fobbed me off with some silly little words and bye-bye, Mr. Messina. All right. So I want to know what you guys are intending to actually do and talk to your leaders and make them listen, because nobody else is doing it. Now, Yasmin and Georgiou, Bob a minute ago said about communications. In the protest at York Road, I both gave you my mobile number. Since that day, nobody's got back to me. I would like to know why.
Thank you, Tony. So,
happy to answer.
Oh, okay, Yasmin, go first.
I'm terribly sorry to say, Tony, since you last saw me, my mother passed on and I've been out of this country. But I will also say to you that in terms of the disabled, I asked several times our officers to set up a meeting specifically for those who are disabled or in with any kind of vulnerability. I have finally had a response to say that all comments should be directed to the Let's Talk site. So unfortunately, I have to say to you, I have not been successful in that way, but my personal intention is now I have a little bit more time to try and visit the streets one by one. That's to see myself. That's all I can do.
Thank you. I'm sorry to hear about your mother as well. So, but at the end of the day, talking on Let's Talk, I spoke to Richard Easton face to face at Maidstone Road, and he assured me that all the disabled people were contacted. That is a true and outright lie, and I've spoken to him and I've told him. So somebody needs to start telling the truth. You're not taking any responsibility for disabled people at all. Never mind the people on the outside of this triangle LTN who are suffering.
Okay. Tony, let's hear from Catherine on this issue. Catherine?
Actually, it's Georgiou that I wanted to come back.
Oh, right. Okay. Sorry. Achilles, do you want to go? You're on mute.
Yeah, I've been trying to unmute myself. Sorry. Yeah. Hi, Tony. Hi, everyone. Can I just say, going way back to what Janet said, and everything that we're hearing is I have never regarded you, Janet, or anybody as a minority of dissidents. I think what you have to say collectively is actually worthwhile and something that we need to be taking on board. And certainly, I think you've been saying some good stuff that we need to take forward. As I said when I spoke earlier, one of the things that I have been concerned about and have been pushing for is about consultation with blue badge holders. And I repeat that. It's very important, I think, for this scheme that the council knows what the views are of blue badge holders and other disabled people. And I'm concerned that they haven't done that yet. I've been given various reasons. We know how many blue badge holders there are in the area, but because of information laws and so on, GDPR and so on, they've not been able to contact them, although I have still been pressing for it. Likewise, the number of people who are at home who require caring or who are carers, I think has been a real issue. I got an email yesterday, but as somebody who, whose parents were receiving carers, I know what it's like. Carers don't have much time. And if you're going to put extra time for them to come and visit you, you know, they hardly had time to do anything. So I think that's a real issue. So certainly I've been pressing for that. One of the things I have done also is been in touch with TfL, because, you know, the schemes, their bus scheme for disabled people, I've been trying to find out from them as to how they have been affected by trying to visit people who are disabled, who require their bus service
You can't
within
get in.
those areas. Yeah, well, that's what I've been trying to get to the bottom of. I've had various emails and correspondence from them. I've been trying to get them to give me that information. It's not easy. Tony, yes, quite agree with you. I think there is an issue here about how this is affecting disabled people, and how we, the council collectively, is consulting disabled people, and I'm not convinced. I think it can be done better, and that's why I keep pressing.
I just want to relate to you, all three of you councillors. I don't know if you've got any disabled family or anything like that, but for us, it's more than just leaving that front door. Our day leaving the house has to be regimented between problems, medication, and everything else. And sitting in traffic for 45 minutes just to get to Bounds Green Road is ridiculous.
Yeah, and that's what it
just
is.
Please listen to us residents who are living in here. Never mind the ones in their ivory towers.
Can I just say,
thank you, Tony. I'm sorry, Achilles. We're running out of time now.
Thank you, everybody.
And I'm just
Thanks,
very
Tony.
anxious to get to the next question. So thank you very much, Tony. The point well made. Brian, do you want to come in and then edit? Yeah.
Really, I'm following on from Mandy. I too live just over the border, actually off Queen's Road. I'm speaking for a lot of people actually over the border in Haringey. And we have been experiencing from the introduction of the experimental measures serious impact on access. I could enlarge on that. Traffic displacement. A lot of these things have been touched on. And I want to mention traffic displacement, especially onto residential roads between Green Lanes and Bounds Green Road, where if you measured the pollution levels there rather than Warwick Road, you would find they've been enormously increased. There are tailbacks. All the principles which we agree about quieter, safer neighbourhoods are being worsted off patch. We are making representations, you won't be surprised, to Haringey as we look on. What I want to ask you all actually is this news, councillors, to you about the impacts out of the area? And following on from that, if I would like to say, what do you think Enfield might be able to do by way of mitigation? But I actually think it's bigger than that. I refer to Haringey coming in with an LTN, as it were, in reaction. It is shaped by response to the Bose LTN, and that puts one alongside another. But actually, Janet has spoken, and others, about a wider view. It's about the, I then add, non-local traffic through traffic. They're real. They can't be wished away. All of us, once we begin a journey, are quite quickly non-local traffic, where another LTN may be introduced. Actually, the flows of through traffic are very significant. So my follow-on question is to the councillors, whose concerns I appreciate enormously, is do you recognise, would you affirm that actually this needs to be taken back to a strategic, larger area view in which it's not even Enfield and Haringey do their things, but they have seriously got to work together across that border, which for us is, well, we don't know when we cross it on the road, but we know the effects of what's happening in Enfield.
Thank you very much, Brian. I'm very conscious of time, and so if I could ask the three of you to be quite quick, and I'm very conscious of the fact that we've actually, Edis has got a question, and then Roland, and sorry, Jenny, as well. I don't know whether you want to ask something, but so can I ask the three councillors quickly to come back on Brian's very eloquently made points.
Okay, I'll just quickly say, Brian, I think you've hit the nail on the head in highlighting how it's very difficult, the way that everything is split into silos. And actually, if we were planning for London, this is not the way we would do it. And we're councillors trying to do the best we can. But we're locked into this, you know, rather artificial barrier between boroughs. And you're absolutely right. In one sense, it's just ridiculous because you've got boroughs set against each other, and this isn't actually the best way at all. And so, you know, if I was making representations to Sadiq Khan's office and the Department of Transport, I would say to the legislators who are so much higher than us, please, can you make this a lot more workable so that everything can be looked at, as Yasmin says, in a truly holistic way? Because we are trying to do the best we can within the legislative framework that we have, which, and you know, we're obviously quite low down the food chain in terms of political hierarchies. And the truth is that you're right. It's extremely difficult. I would just say the one thing about the displacement issue is that for me, when I support the principle of LTNs, it's because of the academic evidence that has demonstrated with previous LTNs that what you actually get is evaporation. I would not like a scheme to merely be about displacement, because that obviously is just shifting a problem. So, you know, it remains to be seen. I don't want to jump the gun and say, but that is what we would hope for. I can see that Sue's smiling, and I can see that obviously there's skepticism about this. But if I can just explain my own thinking about that, that is why.
Sorry, Catherine, I'm sorry to interrupt you here, but I am very conscious of the fact we've only got 2 minutes left.
Sorry, yes.
And not your fault, but I'm very conscious of the fact that actually we need to give Brian a few more issues. And some people have not had a chance to ask a question, and I know Roland's busting it out, and of course I could talk until the cows come home. Do people want to click on a game just for another 20 minutes or so? Would people be happy with that? Can you just raise a hand? Yeah, okay. That makes me feel better then, because actually, you know, I can do that. So thank you, Catherine. I'm sorry to cut you short, but Yasmin, would you like to just pick up on Brian's point? And if we get cut off, then we'll just come back in again, yeah?
No, thank you. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep. Thank you very much, Brian. I mean, as very rightly said by Catherine, also, you've hit the nail on the head. It's got to be a much wider discussion. And I would strongly recommend that you speak to Joanne McCartney, because, you know, she is the GLA member for all our 2 areas, and obviously bring up the subjects of what the displacement is causing and, you know, the problems it's causing. But we must also remember that in the hierarchy of priorities, there is the whole issue of climate emergency. And I direct you back to the detail of this particular plan, which is an active travel plan meant to get people out of the car, and those who need to use the car to use the car. So you see, when you see it from that point of view, then, you know, a whole other discussion emerges. My problem with this is the public have not been at all prepared for this. We, as your councillors, in my opinion, were completely bounced into this, because as far as I'm concerned, that